Hello and welcome to Art Song Notes. My name is Cara Alfano. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the ultimate wedding German lieder, and that is Widmung by Robert Schumann. Robert Schumann composed this in 1840 as a gift for his bride, Clara Wieck. The poetry of Widmung comes from Friedrich Rückert, who was a contemporary of Schumann's. So today's video will be split into 4 sections. The first section will be history notes, where I'll talk briefly about the history of the song. This will then be followed by lyric notes, where I will give you the German pronunciation of the text, followed by an English translation of the text, and then a brief discussion about the meaning of the text. Then we'll move on over to composition notes, where I'll talk a little bit about the compositional structure of the song. And then I'll leave you with technique notes, giving you a few vocal technique tips to aid you in your study of Widmung. So let's get started with history notes. So as I mentioned before, Widmung was composed in 1840. This was during the time known as Schumann's Liederjahr, or Year of the Song. It was during this Year of the Song, 1840, that Schumann composed at least 138 songs. That's like him writing a new song on average every 2.5 days for an entire year. Mind blown on that one. 26 of those songs comprise Opus 25, which is also known as Myrten. Now, Myrten means myrtle in English, and that is a flowering plant that is associated with, among other things, weddings and marriage. Schumann composed this collection of songs, Myrten, for his bride, Clara Wieck, and he presented this extraordinary compilation as a wedding gift to her. Now, Widmung is the first song in this opus. And when we get to talking about the meaning of the text, you will see why he dedicated this song to the bride whom he adored. So now let's move on over to lyric notes so I can take you through the pronunciation of the German text. Du meine Seele, du mein Herz, du meine Wonne, o du mein Schmerz, du meine Welt, in der ich lebe, mein Himmel, du, darein ich schwebe. O du mein Grab, in das hinab ich ewig meinen Kummer gab. Du bist die Ruhe, du bist der Frieden, du bist vom Himmel mir beschieden. Dass du mich liebst, macht mich mir wert. Dein Blick hat mich vor mir verklärt. Du hebst mich liebend über mich, mein guter Geist, mein besseres Ich. And now the English translation, as provided from the Fischer-Dieskau Book of Lieder, with translations by George Bird and Richard Stokes, is as follows. You, my soul, you, my heart, you, my bliss, oh, you, my pain. You, my world in which I live, my heaven, you, to which I float. Oh, you, my grave, into which my grief forever I've consigned. You are repose, you are peace. You are bestowed on me from heaven. Your love for me gives me my worth. Your eyes transfigure me in mine. Lovingly, you raise me above myself, my good spirit, my better self. So I believe the meaning of this poetry is pretty straightforward. Robert Schumann was conveying to Clara on their wedding day that she was everything to him, the source of his greatest joy, but also the source of his greatest pain. For in this life, when we have a great love, when that love goes away, that is when we endure the greatest pain. Schumann conveyed that Clara was his place of peace and rest, and that she influenced him to be a better man. Now, what woman wouldn't want to hear those words on her wedding day? Now that we've talked a little bit about the meaning of the poetry, let's talk a little bit about the compositional structure of Widmung. The time signature of Widmung is in 3/2, which is something that we don't see very often in art songs. And the tempo is innig and lebhaft, which means heartfelt and sincere and lively. The song is in a simple ternary form of A-B-A. Now, what's interesting about this is that the key changes in the B section, with the song having begun in A-flat major, but then it modulates to E major in the B section. This is, of course, if we're looking at Widmung in its original key. The mood of the B section changes as well as the singer expresses how the beloved is a place of rest and peace, and that the beloved was bestowed upon the singer by heaven above. It's interesting to note how the texture of the piano has shifted in the B section to a calmer, stiller sound with a pulsing of quarter notes played by the right hand. This all following the flurry of excitement in the piano in the A section, as represented by the constant arpeggiation of chords. At the reprise of the A section, or what we might call the A prime section, it's also notable that the words and the music from the first A section are not brought back in their entire original form, but rather the A prime section is truncated a bit, and it uses the words that completed the B section to end it, rather than the words that completed the A section. Now, in my opinion, I do think it sounds much nicer to end the song with the idea of my good spirit, my better self, rather than my grief forever I've consigned. Lastly, I think it's notable that Schumann kind of gave a little shout out to Schubert's Ave Maria in the piano postlude. So now let's move on to some vocal technique tips. Vocal technique tip number 1. With all the excitement of the A section, it can get very easy to take high breaths because the breath intakes occur so quickly. But please remind yourself to take deep, low breaths that will fill up the trunk of your body. That way you'll be able to sing with a richer, fuller tone. Vocal technique tip number 2. In the B section, make sure your vocal tone reflects the shift in the meaning of the text. So here you are singing about your beloved being the place of peace and rest. So when you are doing so, you might want to soften and sweeten your vocal tone. Now, as you move through the B section, there is a gradual crescendo throughout that entire section up to that A prime section. So you can incorporate that crescendo in your singing throughout the B section. And vocal technique tip number 3. Obey the ritardano markings throughout the entire song, as they are used in important places of musical and textual transitions. Well, thank you so much for joining me here at Art Song Notes today as we discussed Robert Schumann's Widmung. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to check out some of the other videos here on this channel and to please subscribe to this channel. Until next time, happy singing!